Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Nicole McIntyre, and I'm the Manager of Transfer Success Initiatives here at UC Berkeley in our College of Engineering. And Tiffany and I are really excited that you're joining us today for yet another event in our community college webinar series. We've been going all month. So if you've missed our previous webinars, the recordings are available, and I'll put the link in the chat. Today's session has live captioning, which you can access by hitting the little CC button, closed captioning button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And thank you to Aberdeen for their ongoing captioning for us. And like I said, today's event will be recorded. You can access the recording at engineering.berkeley.edu/CC. And you can also register for our future talks there. So I want to remind you that we have 4 more webinars before the month ends, and they will be department-specific events happening next week. So this is a really exciting opportunity to learn more about engineering majors and to meet the faculty and staff of those majors. So maybe you don't know much about nuclear engineering, or you're wondering, what is engineering science? That sounds really broad. Going to one of these events might be a really great opportunity to explore them. And I want to just let you know, we won't be using the chat for discussion. Tiffany and I will definitely copy and paste links in there. But if you have a question as we present, please use the Q&A button. Grace, I hope that we just answered your question using the chat. Chris, there was an industrial engineering talk. It happened on Friday, so I'm afraid you've missed it. So yes, please, like those folks have greatly demonstrated, throw your question in the Q&A. You can upvote questions with the thumbs up sign if you have the same question. And if your question is very specific to your situation, for example, eligibility criteria, I encourage you to instead email me. We won't be answering advising questions in this webinar. So who are we? Why are we talking to you? Tiffany, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, my name is Tiffany Reardon, and I'm Associate Director for Engineering Excellence Programs at Berkeley, and I run the Transfer Pre-Engineering Program, TPREP.
Awesome, and my name is Nicole McIntyre. I am the Director of Transferred Excellence, which is a research program we'll talk about a little bit later. I am also the Manager of Transfer Success Initiatives for the College of Engineering. So my whole job is to work with folks in community college, help you transfer to Berkeley, and then make sure you have a great, successful experience once you're enrolled in Berkeley Engineering. Before we talk about how to find research and specific research programs, I want to start by talking about what is research and what does it mean when we say you should do research. I graduated from Berkeley with 2 degrees without really understanding what it meant to do research. I certainly never participated. I thought that's something that other people do, especially people that have these really unique new ideas, which I did not have about my field. So to break it down quite simply, research is the process of asking a question, collecting data through experiments, which we're familiar with, and then presenting an answer to that question. So it's gathering data, information, and facts to advance the field and advance knowledge. So in your lab classes at community college, you likely do experiments, or you did when you were in the classroom. So those experiments have been created by your faculty to have specific measurements and expected outcomes. And if you do everything right, you should know what to expect. The process of research in an academic setting is knowing that you don't know what to expect, and you're trying to find out new things and advance the field. It can be really repetitive, exhausting, and frustrating because you're not getting answers, or you're not getting the answers you want, or you're just doing the same experiment over and over again. Or maybe you spend 2 months on an experiment and then you realize you used the wrong soil, or you made a mistake early. But it can also be really intellectually stimulating because, again, you are creating the knowledge. You are trying out solutions and engaging your brain in a way that you don't have to in a lab science class when the answer is known. And for that reason, it's an opportunity to be really creative and think outside the box and apply your classwork and maybe the research you're doing on the side by reading articles and books to find new solutions and new possibilities. Right? We all know about the discovery of penicillin or maybe the Punnett square and things like that and how those came about. So why do research? Why are you here, and why do Tiffany and I want you to get involved in research so bad? There are a few different answers. One might be because you're really passionate about a particular area. A lot of folks right now are interested in self-driving cars, they're interested in drones, they're interested in artificial intelligence. Clearly I work in computer science because those were all narrow examples. So that might be one reason. Or you might want to explore a particular area. You know, I want to be a bioengineering major and I'm interested in cell engineering or tissue engineering. I want to know more. It's really an opportunity to get hands-on experience at the very brink of the future of a field. You can become one of the world's experts in that area. It might be a very small area, but if there's only a couple of labs in the world doing research on a topic, you stand a very good chance of being one of the 10, 20 people in the world that are an expert on a specific field. You might get involved because you want to push the boundaries of what can be done. We've seen this recently with genetic engineering, right? And CRISPR technology, and that you want to solve problems that haven't been solved before. You also might be interested in transferring to a research university. The University of California, all of our campuses, we are research universities, meaning that's something we care about a lot. And similarly, you might be a little interested in graduate school, and doing research is a huge part of being a grad student. So it's important to try it out early. I want to give a real quick example of what undergraduate research might look like in the flesh, and I'm going to try to explain it quite simply. So this is a research poster. I know you can't see it all, but it was a project done by one of our interns, Elisa, of San Diego Miramar College. And after she did this last summer, she was admitted to UC Berkeley, and she's now majoring in bioengineering. So she worked on genetic editing of plants. Being able to edit plants has a lot of possible benefits, right? We can create more efficient biofuels. We can develop helpful medications. We can create more and more resilient food and help world hunger. And I don't know if you all are familiar with CRISPR-Cas9, but it's a gene editing protein that's been really big in the news, and it's used to genetically edit beings. Unfortunately, unlike animal cells, plant cells have really rigid walls. You know, we learned about it in high school biology, and that means that they stand upright, but it means that CRISPR-Cas9 struggles to actually get inside the cell. So Elisa and her lab spent a summer working on a delivery technology that would allow this CRISPR-Cas9 protein to get inside the cell and genetically edit plants. They then tested this technology on a particular plant species, and you'll have to read the paper to learn the results. But this is an example, right, of having a question and trying something out and trying to move the field further. And there are lots of really positive benefits if you're successful. Now, Elisa didn't come up with this project all on her own. She was an undergrad with just introductory bio and chemistry coursework. So her mentors designed the project, which is most common in undergrad research, and she was responsible for a little portion. However, she's now a junior in college, and she has experience working with a Nobel Prize winning technology. And she is an expert on this very little corner of science. And she did all that in 9 weeks. So I hope that kind of helps illustrate what this abstract idea of doing research is. Tiffany, why would I want to do research while I'm a community college student? Why not wait until I've transferred to a bachelor's program?
Well, that's a great question, Nicole. First of all, I do hear a lot of students say, well, when I transfer, then I'll do research as a junior, but why wait? You can actually do research now as a community college student. There's a number of reasons, but the first reason, this will actually strengthen your transfer application. For those of you that are transferring and applying this November 1st to 30th, and you're applying to transfer schools, you're going to see that one of the questions is, discuss how you have prepared for upper division coursework, right? And having research experience really, really demonstrates interest in the major. It also demonstrates understanding of the applications of the major, right? So all of you at community college are now taking lower division coursework. You're taking calculus, you're taking bio, you're taking chem, maybe you're taking some programming classes. Doing a research project will give you so much more outside of the classroom experience. You'll also be able to build connections at your dream university. So aside from why you should do research, there's a number of different types of research programs. So some of the programs that we're going to talk about, and the program that you're going to learn about, the TTE program, that's what we call a summer REU program. So summer REU standing for research experience for undergrads. Those are typically 8 to 10 week formal programs. We're going to talk a lot about those programs in today's presentation, because those programs really, really are things that you likely will do when you transfer, but again, even before you transfer. Aside from an REU program, you also might want to engage in academic year research. You can do this at your community college. And actually, I worked at a community college and I had many students. I used to work at Skyline College. I don't know if we have any San Mateo Community College folks on here, but I've seen many students that will connect with their faculty at community college and just ask them, I'm interested in doing an independent research project. Is this something that you'd be able to mentor me on and help me on? Local universities. Maybe you have a local university nearby. There's also a great opportunity. And then of course, there's short-term research projects. And we're going to talk a little bit about those as well. But those are fundamentally the 3 different types of research programs that you'll encounter. And again, we can't emphasize enough that you can start doing research now. You don't have to wait until you transfer. So how do you find research? Well, we've taken a look and kind of, you can Google undergrad research, you can do that, but you will spend hours and hours doing that. So here are 3 options that you might want to look for research opportunities. The first one is Pathways to Science. This is a great one because in Pathways to Science, you can narrow it down by area, right? Maybe you're a mechanical engineer, but you're really interested in aerospace. Maybe you're a bioengineer. You can sort it by major. You can also sort it by research area. You can also sort it by region, right? Maybe you want to do an opportunity that's not in the area. Now, I know right now everything's online, so you're probably thinking, well, what do you mean? But you can do that as well. You can search by institution. The second one is the NSF REU research search. The thing about this one, disclaimer, it's not the most exciting way, because essentially what you'll do is you'll get a lot of links, but maybe, as we said earlier, maybe Berkeley's your dream school, right? Maybe MIT is your dream school, like whatever your dream school is, UCLA, Stanford. You can look and see if those schools have an REU program, and I'm almost guarantee they will have an REU program. And you can look and see those REU programs at that school, and you can click that way. So that's the second way. The third way, and disclaimer, this is putting a plug for my blog. The reason why I'm putting a plug for my blog is because we have a page on REU Finder specifically for community college students. So if you're a community college student, and I'm assuming you are if you're on this webinar, we have a page and it specifically has programs that are looking for community college students, because believe me, there's a lot of programs that want you. They know how talented our community college students, and they're really eager to have you in their programs. So if you decide to look at RU Finder, you'll find that page and it'll say, you know, community college students. But very, very important, anytime you see programs that say that they're looking for students from institutions with limited research opportunities, that means community colleges. Sometimes they don't outright say that that's what they're looking for, but that's really what it means. In addition, if you are a first generation college student, there are many programs that will, say they are looking for first-gen college student. If you're a U.S. veteran, I know the University of Washington, for example, has a program specifically for students that are U.S. vets. So really, beyond, if it doesn't say community college students, that doesn't mean that they don't want you. It just means you have to look elsewhere. So you have to look at the criteria and the eligibility. If they're looking for students with that do not have prior research experience, beautiful. If they're looking for freshmen and sophomores, unless it specifically says it has to be university students, if they say freshmen and sophomores, then you are good to go and you should apply.
Awesome. I just want to reiterate, because we're getting questions about like, which research programs am I eligible for? There are hundreds of options, and Tiffany and I definitely aren't the experts on all of them. Especially for those that are eligible, the NSF RU search, the second link, probably has 500 programs across the country, and they will all pay you to do research. And I'm sure many of them will be doing, or at least trying to do, remote format due to COVID. So there are definitely some you're eligible for. Do Tiffany and I know if you can go to Puerto Rico this summer or not? No, but I really encourage you to schedule some time and do some research into your options.
We also try to narrow it down on the RU Finder. We'll put like the GPA. So like, maybe they want students with the 2.5 GPA. Maybe they want students with the 3.0 GPA, right? So we try to narrow it down that. A tip that I would say, only apply to programs that you are eligible for. So if you are a sophomore at a community college and they want rising juniors at the university, then you probably shouldn't apply to that program. But really looking and seeing what's available and what's out there, I would say maybe look at 5 programs. Look at 5 programs, 5 different programs, see what you're interested in. And like Nicole says, there's a lot of programs, regardless of your major, regardless if you are an international student, an undocumented student, there are paid opportunities. On the NSF site, you might notice that a lot of them say that the NSF is specifically funding US citizens and permanent residents. However, I happen to know for a fact that a lot of schools, the NSF is only the funding source, right? So Stanford, for example, Stanford, Cornell, they have RU programs and they have funding sources that are specifically funding, international students and undocumented students. So don't let that deter you from applying.
Tiffany, can I ask you some questions from the chat, given that you are the RU Finder expert? We have 2 questions about timeline. Do most research programs take place over the summer? And are there any winter research opportunities?
Oh, yes, and yes. So good question. So there actually are programs. Brookhaven National Lab has a winter program. I believe it's a 4-day program that you can do. Lawrence Berkeley National Lab has spring programs that you can do. In addition, if anyone's from the UC Santa Cruz area, there's a program called Access, and they have I believe it's a 2 to 3 day program for students that you can do paid research. I think you have to go to Cabrillo, Hartnell, Monterey Peninsula College, and they have kind of short-term opportunities. In terms of applying, you should be applying now for next summer. I know that sounds bizarre, but apply now for next summer. It's almost like applying for a summer job, because essentially that's what it is. It's a summer job.
Awesome. What about remote research opportunities?
Yes, remote research opportunities. Last summer, a lot of programs did remote research, and I know the inclination might be, oh, it's only for CS people. Not true at all. In fact, Lawrence Berkeley National Lab I personally had like 6 students doing research. None of them were CS. They were all ME and MSc. So there's a lot of opportunities to do remote research. You will need a computer that can run simulations. So all of you students, community college students, make sure that you, even now, I would say beyond the REU, make sure that you have a computer that can run these things. If you don't have the equipment, you can ask your campus, you can ask the program to provide that as well. And they will provide that. But yes, research is being done. I mean, just because we're, remote, it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Awesome. We'll talk about TTE in a minute. Okay, last question for you, Tiffany. And then maybe while I'm presenting, you could put the names of some of those programs that you see, Santa Cruz and the other ones in the chat, because people are asking for repeats. Hopefully y'all are taking notes. Tiffany's website has a lot of great information, but she's a really valuable resource and knows a lot. And to answer the remote question, I also had remote interns this summer doing electrical engineering, chemistry, computer science. So there's definitely options. And I think there'll be a lot more this summer. Last summer we were kind of taken by surprise with COVID. We all had these great plans and suddenly we were trying to figure out like, how do you do hands-on chemistry research remotely? Whereas if this is another remote summer, I think a lot more of us have had the opportunity to prepare and figure out what it will look like. Okay, Tiffany, last question. How much do you have to know about a field to do research in it? Do you have to be an expert? Should you be in upper division classes already?
No, you do not. In fact, some programs, Carnegie Mellon, for example, has a program, I think the acronym is REUSE. I forget what it stands for, but they specifically want freshmen and sophomores who do not have prior research experience. Now, if you look at the programs that are designed for seniors and juniors, they're gonna want students with more experience, but I have to emphasize something, and this is very, very important that Nicole and I tell our own Berkeley students. You have to remember, you are all taking classes right now. You are also taking classes in spring. Put that on your application. When Nicole talks about TTE, she talks about the coursework that you need in order to be eligible, but remember, on your resumes and on your applications, include the classes you're taking now and the classes you plan to take in spring. That's very important because by the time you start a summer program, you're going to have all that experience. And when you think about it that way, you actually are a lot more qualified than you might think you are. So don't sell yourself short.
Okay, sorry, one more question. Can you participate in a research experience that does not relate to your major?
Yes, of course you can. I know through TTE, there's been a lot of students. I've had students, research it doesn't have to correspond directly to your major. Research could be something that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be your exact major, of course. But good question, very good question.
Awesome. Thank you for that pause. I'll let you resume your slide.
So the next slide, we have, so these are just 3 snapshots, right? These are just 3 snapshots. And here's the beautiful thing. You as community college students, these are programs that want you. They're designed for you and they want you. So if you look at the Community College Institute at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, that's specifically for you. The NIH Bridges to Baccalaureate program, that's a partnership between various institutions. So if you look at UC Irvine, if you look at UC Riverside, if you look at Cal State San Marcos, Cal State LA, they have partnerships with these programs. The NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars Program, if you're interested in that, that deadline is, I think it's the 18th of November. It's coming up pretty soon. That's a remote program. So I know that that program is going to happen because it's remote regardless, right? So these are programs, you know, our own Berkeley students, if they apply to these programs, they're not going to get it because they're for you. They want you as community college students. Now, these are all phenomenal programs that we've talked about, but in full disclosure, I really, really, really want you to consider TTE, and here's why. If you do TTE and you decide to come to Berkeley, you are guaranteed, no questions asked, accepted into T-Prep, which is the Transfer Pre-Engineering Program. The TTE program, in my opinion, is a phenomenal program because aside from the research experience that you will get, you will also get transfer advising from Nicole and Nicole's team. So it's not just, okay, you do the research experience, bye-bye. It's like, no, you've done the research experience. Let's try to, you know, help you so then you can come to school here, and they'll try to recruit you. So this is a great program, and we're excited to highlight it.
I didn't even pay her to say that, and she doesn't work for TTE, but thank you, Tiffany. So again, I just want to reiterate, TTE is an amazing program, but there are many awesome programs, and Tiffany just gave you a lot of information about them. So that if you're not eligible for TTE, I would encourage you to hang out because I'm going to talk about, you know, best practices to apply to a research opportunity, and I think that's valuable wherever you're applying. But this is not the only option, and there are a lot of other options. If you're an international student, if you're undocumented, if you're planning to transfer apply right now to transfer next year, go to those links that Tiffany shared, and I'll send out the recording, and really think about participating in something else. You might even get to go somewhere nicer than Berkeley, like Hawaii or Puerto Rico. Tiffany, maybe you could keep an eye on the Q&A and just interrupt me if anything comes up.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Awesome. So again, I am the director of the Transfer to Excellence program here at Berkeley. And the Transfer to Excellence program is a paid summer research internship for California community college students to ultimately transfer and complete their degree in science and engineering. And I will add, my added intention is for all participants to think about graduate school and to think about continuing to do research. So to that question earlier about, do you have to be an expert? Do you have to have upper division coursework? I am specifically looking for California community college students. I do not want experts. I do not want people with upper division coursework. I want people with Chem 1 and Chem 2. So you absolutely are eligible for opportunities, and we want to be your very first research experience to get you excited and empowered to pursue future research. It is a 9-week summer research internship on our campus when we're allowed, and online when we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'll talk more about that later. Our 2021 dates will be June 11th to August 14th. So hopefully you don't have classes during that time. And we provide your room, your meals, your travel to and from Berkeley, and a $3,600 stipend for your work over the summer. So we really don't want you to have to choose between working and building your resume, but that you can do both. And in that experience, you work on an independent research project mentored by Berkeley faculty, grad students, and postdocs, which is so exciting to be able to work directly with Berkeley faculty who are the best in the field. They're the ones writing the textbooks that you're using in your classes. And I also want to emphasize that you're working on an independent research project. So you are responsible for your own slice of the pie. And it's not, you know, cleaning beakers and debugging code and getting coffee for other people, but you're actually doing hands-on research. In addition to that, participants attend seminars in science communication, in professional development, in technical talks, and also, like Tiffany said, to help you prepare to apply to transfer to a four-year university. We also have community building, social activities. You know, we have really great interns from across the state, and we want y'all to get to know each other. Other benefits include participation in TAP, which is the Transfer Alliance Project. There's one at UCLA, which you might know about, and we have one at Berkeley. And these are really great advisors who work with community college students and help them prepare to transfer. And they even read applications when it comes to application season. So they are the experts in helping folks build their application and get into Berkeley and similar schools. And then we also have an online mentoring component once the internships ended. So you don't just go back to your community college and it's all like a weird dream, but you stay in touch with Berkeley faculty and grad students. We have our 2019 participants on this slide. The top one, we've got Victoria, who just transferred to Stanford, Elisa, who transferred to Berkeley, Megan, who transferred to UC Irvine, and Crystal, who is killing it at Skyline this year. And in our second picture, you might recognize the face on the left. That is Professor Jennifer Doudna. She just won a Nobel Prize last week, which we are so excited about. She's part of the first all-female team to win a Nobel Prize for her work on CRISPR-Cas9. And she not only hosts interns, but she actually funds a number of seats to host interns. So she really cares about this program and getting y'all connected to research. And that is Ted, who participated with her in 2019. And he also transferred to Berkeley, and he's working with her right now on her COVID work. So he's working on developing COVID tests and COVID vaccines. Oh, that's a Nobel Prize. I forgot about my smart animation. So in quick conclusion, what are the benefits of participating in this program? But I would also say participating in any research program. You really get to experience life as a researcher. And it's a low commitment, right? Only 9 weeks. You can't really take on a job for 9 weeks, but you can try research and see if you like it. And also as a student of the school that you're at, in this instance at UC Berkeley, to see if you like Berkeley. And we've heard that it helps students who do ultimately transfer to Berkeley have a smoother transition, you know, if they've already spent the summer here. You gain really valuable experience to discuss in your personal statement for transfer, which Tiffany spoke about earlier. You learn how to conduct research, how to present it, how to create a research poster, write a research paper, all really valuable skills for scientists. You get to network and build long-lasting friendships with not only your fellow summer researchers, but with Berkeley faculty, with graduate students, with staff. And you receive a lot of additional support to transfer to the schools that you're interested in, including the TAP program, the webinars, the seminars, and the online mentoring. And of course, mine and Tiffany's support. So there was a question in the chat earlier about the fields that we do research in, and it's really dependent each year on the faculty that are interested in hosting and have a need for interns. But you can see on your screen, we really range the science field with biochemistry, bioengineering, biology, chemical areas, civil and environmental engineering. Every year we have some students with Professor Mariano. Material science is very common, mechanical engineering, physics, molecular and cell biology. We also especially have research projects in computer science and in electrical engineering. And that is because I have funding sources directly connected to hosting students. So I got $400,000 last year to get y'all to do research in computer science. So I'm definitely looking for applications in all areas, but there are a number of seats in electrical engineering and in computer science.
So I have a question. If their school does not, say for example, that their school does not offer CS classes, is that okay? Can they still apply?
Absolutely. I'm going to talk about the eligibility criteria, but it doesn't include having specific coursework in your research area. You should be able to talk about why you're interested in that research area, and it always helps to back that up with some sort of evidence. But that might be, I do Coursera courses online, I've done a ton of independent research, reading things online, I've taught myself to code. So you definitely don't have to have relevant coursework, right? And in civil environmental engineering, your community college probably doesn't have anything, but you need to have a science foundation, and then you need to be able to talk about why you're interested in building your research experience in a specific discipline. So who is eligible? Bottom line, as we talked about earlier, I am not looking for experienced researchers. I am not looking for experts. I am looking to introduce you. So there is no research experience expected or required to participate in this program. And ultimately, it's really hard to get research experience as a community college student. So I would be surprised if you had some. But there are some other eligibility criteria, and that's to make sure that we're setting you up to be successful, especially when you're responsible for an actual project in the lab of a professor. So we review applications for a 3.0 in science, engineering, and math courses. And we're looking for, by the time the program starts, not now, but by the time the program starts, for you to have 2 calculus courses and 3 science or engineering courses, one of which with a laboratory component. So you might be a computer science student and you might have biology, chemistry, and physics. That's fine. They don't have to be computer science courses, but we're again looking for 3 science or engineering courses. And we do accept AP credit for those, or IB if you happen to have it. You also have to be age 18 by March 31st. That is because we have a ton of forms and you're living alone in a college setting, and we need you to be a legal adult. We are looking for people planning to return to their community college in fall 2021. So as we talked about, there are a ton of programs and options to help you be a really strong applicant to transfer. And if you are planning to apply right now, by this summer, you'll already know where you're getting in, and all of that information won't be as valuable to you. So we're really looking for people who aren't ready to apply yet. They're going to come spend a summer with us and then submit their applications to transfer next fall, so a year from now, to then start at a 4-year university in fall 2022. And if this doesn't apply to you, but you know students that are a little behind you in their educational journey, I really encourage you to tell them about this opportunity, because it's really hard to find the first-year students, but they're a really good fit for this program. And then finally, unfortunately, we are not able to accept international students. So that would be folks on an F1 or J1 visa. And we are exploring our options to be able to support undocumented and documented students this year. So I would say we're looking for residents, and unfortunately, if you're on a visa, you're not eligible. If you are undocumented, or you're on DACA or a dreamer, I encourage you to connect with me if you're comfortable. And feel free to put your questions about eligibility in the chat and we will talk about them. In the meantime, on your left, you can see our summer 2019 cohort. And on the right, you can see our summer 2020 cohort. You'll notice summer 2020 was on Zoom. It was very small because given the late notice, we weren't able to transition a whole lot of research online. And that little face on the bottom right is my boss's son, who was showing us his research on dinosaurs. He was very excited to hear about our research and he was showing us his. So I want to just show you some quotes from participants about the program, and I will read one of them aloud to you. The bottom one is from Haru, who is from the LA area. He transferred to Berkeley this year to study electrical engineering and computer science. Since TTE, he's done an internship with NASA and one with Carnegie Mellon, I believe. And he says, "There is so much that I have learned through these intense 9 weeks, both about my field of study and about myself. I feel like I can start tackling larger projects and be more competitive, both academically and in the industry. I've learned how to work on projects that don't have exact instructions or guides, which is what I've mostly been used to in my classes. Confidence-wise, I definitely am leagues ahead of where I was when I started." And he's killing it right now, so I agree. Do we have any questions, Tiffany, before I get to the application process?
Yes, we do. So a quick question is, if a student is a high school student but taking classes at a community college, are they eligible? So they're in high school, but maybe they're doing like concurrent enrollment.
And they're age 18, I would consider their application.
Okay.
If you're doing dual enrollment, but you definitely have to be age 18 by March. And this is a program for people who are enrolled community college students with a community college transcript.
And is it limited to California community colleges?
It is, yes. So you don't have to be from the state of California, but your transcript needs to be one of the 114 California community college campuses. And again, all those great programs that Tiffany talked about earlier have options for students from other campuses.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So the application, we wanted to get this in during our webinar week or month, and it's also National Transfer Week, which Tiffany and I are very excited about. But our application doesn't open until November 4th. So you have some time to do research into different programs and vote if you can, and then come back to us on November 4th to apply. The application's due on January 31st. So you have 3 months to fill it out. Decisions will be made in April. And, you know, we are really encouraging folks who are underrepresented in any way, whether they're first generation college students, from low income backgrounds, students of color, queer folks, folks with disabilities, veterans, reentry, older students, everyone is really encouraged to apply. The bottom right here is again Haru, who you just heard from. The woman on the top right is Alejandra from Bakersfield College, and she just transferred to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to study electrical engineering, which is exciting. The strategies for applying, and again, this applies to all research programs. Number one, do your research. I would say this applies to all jobs and anything you apply to from here on out. You should never just upload a resume and call it a day. You really need to know what is being offered, what does the organization value, and frame yourself to make it easy for them. So I would encourage you to go through the website of the university, the department. In my situation, the Transfer to Excellence website, and learn what research areas are being studied and what past projects are you interested in. A lot of the time we have information about past projects on our websites, and if we're matching you with the same faculty, you make it a lot easier for me to pick you if you tell me, I loved this work that someone did last year, because this year's research projects might be extensions of the work done last year. So showing that you've done some research shows that you're a self-directed learner, that you're really interested, that you're actually committed to the program. So I encourage you to do research, and I will show you how to do it in a minute. And then also research faculty that are involved in their projects. And it might be reading a foreign language, and that's okay, but I would say do your best and do some Googling to try to understand the very short basis of what's happening. Number two, read the application and the full application so that you know what needs to be done. My application is not due until the end of January. However, I need essays and letters of recommendation and transcripts. And if you try to get all of that on January 30th, you're probably going to struggle. So I would say, make a spreadsheet of all the programs you're interested in and figure out what is needed for each so that you're able to budget yourself enough time and you have an idea of how long the application is going to take. So in terms of doing research into the program, this is the website. Is that big enough, Tiffany, or should I go to the actual website? You're muted. Let me see.
Yeah, I think folks can see it.
Okay. I'll give you a tiny URL in a minute. I just Googled Transfer to Excellence Berkeley, and it will take you to this beautiful website that I've spent a lot of time on. And on the right, as indicated by the yellow arrow, you can see links to the TTE program archive and the TTE research areas. that is where to do your research. And I know a lot of similar programs have this information on their websites too. So if you were to click on TTE Program Archive, you would come to years of options as indicated on the right by the green arrow, and information about students' research projects, including their abstracts and their faculty members and their research posters. So this is what I would look through and see what interests you. For example, on this slide, we've got Austin, who worked with Professor Alex Zeckel. Alex Zeckel always hosts TTE interns. So if you're interested in physics and you read this and it's interesting to you, I would talk about that in your application. So I know, okay, I should put this person's application, should send it to Alex Zeckel to review, if that makes sense. So really think about what we're doing that is interesting to you. And if there's nothing we're doing that's interesting to you, look at some of the other programs that Tiffany talked about and see if they are doing things that are interesting. I also just wanted to note that because we were online last summer, our research symposium is recorded. So the yellow arrow is a link to our research symposium, which is hours and hours, but there's like 15 minutes on each research project. So if there was one that was really interesting, you could see fellow community college students explain their research, which is, I think, really cool. Okay, back to the application. For the Transfer to Excellence application, we have 2 essays, and they are similar to the UC application essays for transfer. So it's valuable to start thinking about this stuff early. Question 1 is, please explain why you wish to conduct summer research and how this relates to your overall interests and goals. So thinking about, where do you want to transfer to? What do you want to do with your life? Are you thinking about grad school? And also be specific about how you think this research opportunity will benefit you. Essay 2, very similar to many application essays. Past summer program participants have found the program to be both the most rewarding and yet the most challenging experience of their life, much like being a student at Berkeley. Describe a major challenge you have encountered in your life, how you overcame it, and what you learned about yourself and others as a result of the experience. And the experience doesn't necessarily need to be like academics or in your classes. So it's a really great idea to start thinking about these things soon and drafting essays so that you're not sending in very last minute rough work with typos and incomplete ideas. We also ask for 2 letters of recommendation, and that can be scary. I didn't ask for a letter of recommendation until a couple of years outside of my undergrad degree, but they're always really inspiring and beautiful, and your community college faculty notice you and believe in you a lot more than you might realize, and they're able to write really nice things. And you can also include letters of recommendation from supervisors, you know, either maybe you're a tutor at your community college or you work at Chipotle after school. All of that is valuable. Religious leaders, community members, really anyone that's able to speak to why you're a good fit for this program. Yes.
Cole, we have a question. So one of the students says a lot of these require letters of recommendation. Is it okay to reuse letters for different applications to programs?
Great question. It's definitely best if they're a little customized. A experienced letter writer will write a letter for you for a specific opportunity, and then they will save it. And then you can follow up and say, thank you so much for that letter of recommendation. I'm actually now applying for this other thing. Would you mind updating it? And they'll change it and they'll say, I think they're a good fit for this internship. So you can do a blanket one, but I would encourage your letter writers, especially if they're people you know like informally, or if they're your professors, to have a template and to update it for each internship you apply for.
If we have any students that are in MSESA, the MSESA directors, they write really good letters.
Yeah.
So you should ask your MSESA director.
And it's customary to give people at least a month to write a letter. So again, you don't want to wait until the end of January. And I would have a think about what might you send them, assuming you're doing it via email because of COVID, when you're asking for a recommendation. I ask people for their transcripts, so I know what their classes look like. I ask them to talk about what they think their best qualities are, or maybe include, if it's someone that you had last year, maybe you're including an exam that you took for that class or something to remind them as to how qualified you are. And these are really stronger if they're coming from people in science and engineering in regards to your classes. So a biology professor would be a much better fit than an English professor because you're applying for a biology internship. We also accept up to 5 pages of sample work, which can be from different things, but maybe you're showing me a test you took that you're really happy with, or some sample code that you wrote. But again, a maximum of 5 pages. And finally, I would really encourage you to ask questions if you're unsure about anything on the application. Another reason to get it started early. I won't be on email at 11:59 on January 31st. So if you got questions, send them to me early.
Should students apply early? Do you do like a rolling admission?
I don't. I'm going to wait until February to process them all. Absolutely. So if you were, hypothetically to wait until January, you might be able to include your fall grades. You might have stronger letters of recommendation because you've known people longer. There's no benefit to applying in November. I want to talk quickly about COVID, right? Common thing. And I know we've got people on this call whose internships were affected this summer because of COVID. It sucks. It's happening across the world. It's happening in internships, in industry and in academia. I have students who were supposed to be at Google or NASA or Facebook that also got canceled. So in terms of this coming summer, ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen. I am not an epidemiologist. I am not a public health official for the city of Berkeley, and I don't know if we will be able to come to campus. So unfortunately, we just have to wait and see. But we are committed to hosting a program and hosting as many students as possible, either in an in-person or remote format. And so I really encourage you to apply, especially at a time when other internships are being canceled. We really want to make as many projects as possible remote if need be. Remote internships might sound like they suck, and you're definitely not getting the college experience of being in a dorm room and going to frat parties or whatever else you're looking for. However, we found this summer that for the folks that did do remote internships, they seem to have a greater connection with the science. Because that was all their focus, right? Like they were doing the science all the time. They had a really positive experience. So much so that when asked how they would describe their remote internship, 100% is very positive, which is very impressive for like being on Zoom. On a scale of 1 to 5, their relationships with their graduate student and postdoc mentors were again 100% rated as a 5, very satisfied. And we encourage them to apply to present their research at the SACNAS Diversity in STEM Conference, which is a great resume booster. And 100% were accepted, and they all got registration scholarships. So although it wasn't, the great college experience that they may have hoped for when they applied, they did actually have really positive remote experiences. And I would encourage you to apply regardless, and we'll all have to find out together in the spring what the safest option is. And I know that ambiguity sucks.
What's the
having it in person too?
What is the acceptance rate for TTE? You probably get a lot of applications.
Last year, I had 116 applications. I think 20 of them were ineligible. So they didn't meet the eligibility criteria, and of the 96 that were eligible, 20 were selected. So yeah, I'm looking to have 20 to 25 interns this year, and I don't know how everything, including COVID, will affect our applications. But every single person that's accepted has told me I applied thinking I would never be accepted. And I was in my biology class when you emailed me, and I screamed and I called my mom, and I never thought that I would be picked, but I was. So I encourage y'all to apply, and hopefully you can use a lot of your application material for different applications.
If students applied last year, you want them to use new information? I mean, it's been a year since they applied.
If you applied last year and you were not accepted, I would highly encourage you to use new information, especially new resumes, transcripts, new essays. I mean, I would hope that you've grown and learned more about yourself in the last year. If you applied last year and you were accepted, but your internship was canceled because of COVID, I will be in touch in November and we'll likely have a modified application where you can choose what to apply with, but we'll see. I really want to give everyone the opportunity to put your best foot forward, and submitting a year-old application to anything ever is not your best foot. Other questions?
Do internship programs value applicants with skills like operating machine tools?
Absolutely. Yeah, it depends on the internship, but I mean, all skills are interesting and valuable, and absolutely, yeah. I would say what matters most is how you talk about it. Having it on a resume with operating machine tools isn't valuable, but if you tell me what you do with it and like why you learned and why you care about developing those skills, yes.
And what about MCB, molecular and cellular biology? Would that be a major?
So we're talking about research areas, not majors, right? So it depends on what your interest is in molecular and cell biology. We typically have internships in the biology range in terms of a lot of genetic editing and genomics because of Jennifer Doudna and her team, which is somewhat biology, sometimes somewhat chemical. We have internships in more environmental areas, and we have internships in like plant biology and developing plants to best meet specific purposes. So an MCB student could do research in all or any of those areas. It really depends on your interest, because molecular and cell biology is a broad field. So I would say look at the research projects and see if there's something that strikes your interest.
And then you said that there are examples of the research, what's one of the silver linings about being online, right? Is that folks can watch the presentations. So I would encourage all of you to visit the link and look at the types of research just to kind of familiarize yourself with the research projects.
We have a lot of returning faculty every year. So the projects often don't vary a whole lot, or a lot of the ones continue and we just add new ones. But that means if you're interested in something that happened last year, or especially in 2019 when we're in person, there's a good chance that we'll be doing something similar again this year.
Do students get course credit for being in TT?
That's a great question. Students get 1 unit from UC Berkeley. You've got to be a registered student to access a lot of our resources. So we enroll you in a class. It's an electrical engineering class. But it's really just a way to give you that credit on the resume and the student status. So it's 1 unit, pass, no pass. We pay for it, so you're not required to pay anything, but it means that at the end of the program, you have a UC Berkeley transcript with 1 unit of credit on it.
You also get a Berkeley ID, which is kind of fun.
The remote interns didn't get theirs yet because they haven't been to campus, but yeah, it's fun to have a Berkeley ID and a Berkeley email address. Any last questions in the Q&A?
Are you going to upload the PowerPoint slides? Well, you're gonna.
I'll upload the PowerPoint slides by Monday to the Transfer to Excellence website, which Tiffany put in the chat about 15 minutes ago. And then the whole presentation will be on that link that Tiffany and I have dropped in the chat and the Q&A a number of times.
So definitely apply.
Yes, I strongly encourage you all. I encourage you to tell, if you're a counselor or a faculty member, tell your students. If you are a student, tell your peers, help spread the word. We'll have info sessions from now through the deadline. So we'll be doing this again. All right, you all have my email address on the slide. So if you have specific questions or if you run out of time to answer your question, I encourage you to contact me. Other than that, I hope you have a great afternoon. Happy last day and a half of National Transfer Week. And hopefully we'll get to meet some of y'all this summer.